Patriots may have to use violence to save America. Voters say B.Y. James Reinl, social affairs correspondent, for Daily Mail. Nearly a quarter of Americans now say that the country has gone so far off the rails that patriots may have to resort to violence to save it, according to an alarming new survey. Polling from the Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI, also shows that millions more Americans have embraced QAnon ideas, and that voters overwhelmingly believe that next year's election could bring the end of democracy. The survey comes as the nation heads into a divisive 2024 presidential election that looks set to pit the incumbent, Democratic President Joe Biden, against his predecessor, Donald Trump, a Republican. The last time those two faced off in the 2020 vote, Trump refused to accept his defeat and his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, in a bid to stop the certification of Biden's win. Polling from the Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI, sounds the alarm about America's divisive politics. Protesters clash with police officers as people rally in support of Palestinians in Brooklyn, New York, the latest flash point exposing the rifts in U.S. society. Pre-President Robert Jones said the polling shows the political temperature in America is rising. Further still, our last presidential election was the first in our history without a peaceful transfer of power, said Jones. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. We should be deeply concerned about the growing number of Americans who express openness to political violence. The nationwide survey of 2,525 adults found that the number of people who countenance political violence has shot up these past 2 years. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than in early 2021. Only 15% of Americans agreed with the statement that, because things have gotten so far off track, true American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country. That was roughly the same time as the January 6 insurrection. This year, 23% agreed, with increases among both Republicans and Democrats. White evangelical Protestants and people who believe Trump won the 2020 vote are more likely to endorse violence than others, researchers said. Donald Trump's mugshot. The former president has used increasingly vehement rhetoric against his political foes in the run-up to next year's election. President Joe Biden, in a prime-time speech called MAGA extremists, a threat to democracy itself. Trump, the front-runner for the Republican presidential nomination, has used increasingly violent rhetoric in a re-election campaign clouded by his criminal prosecutions in 4 jurisdictions. He has derided the political witch hunt to prevent his return to office, called for harsh treatment of migrants and criminals, and even called for the execution of a former top military official. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. At the same time, ever more Americans have embraced the QAnon conspiracy theory. The wacky credo imagines a devil-worshipping pedophile elite that secretly pulls the strings on U.S. and global institutions. The number of adherents has jumped from 14% in 2021 to 23% today, PRRI, a nonprofit, says. Atlanta officials inspecting the damage from anti-police activists, who vandalized a site in Atlanta, Georgia. A man does a Nazi salute as 2 neo-Nazi groups, Blood Tribe and Goyim Defense League, held a rally in September 2023 in Orlando. Florida Republican voters are more likely to hold QAnon beliefs, but many Democrats also support the theory. Against this backdrop, an overwhelming majority of 75% of Americans worry that the future of U.S. democracy is at stake in the 2024 presidential vote. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. Some 84% of Democrats are concerned about representative government coming unstuck, but so do 77% of Republicans. More broadly, the survey sheds light on the racial, religious and political differences that influence America's increasingly fractious politics. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. It paints a portrait of a nation facing major demographic shifts as Americans turn away from mainstream media and misinformation swirls around on social media. What is QAnon, and how did it get so big? Jacob Chansley, also known as the QAnon shaman, famously joined a mob supporting former President Donald Trump at the Capitol on January 6, 2021 in Washington, D.C. QAnon started on fringe website 4chan, where a poster calling themselves Q left messages claiming to be a senior federal official and purporting to reveal a deep state cabal intent on bringing down then-President Donald Trump. Q grew out of the discredited Pizzagate conspiracy that top Democrats were involved in pedophilia and cannibalism from the basement of a Washington, D.C. restaurant, but quickly picked up steam with Q, leaving clues and claims that Trump was going to bring down the deep state. Time equals 400 Ms. Greater than a core tenet of the conspiracy theory is that a cabal of child sex predators that includes prominent Democrats, Hollywood elites, and deep state allies ran institutions and a global child sex ring. It has become a big tent conspiracy theory encompassing misinformation about topics ranging from alien landings to vaccine safety. Whenever the conspiracies turn out to not be true, followers rationalize that the inaccuracies are part of Q's larger plan. Followers of QAnon say a so-called Great Awakening is coming to bring salvation. The Q posts, which started in 2017 on the message board 4chan, have also been posted on 8kun, a rebranded version of the shuttered web board 8chan. Major social media platforms including YouTube, Facebook and Twitter have banned content associated with QAnon and have suspended or blocked accounts that seek to spread it. That's forced much of the group's activities onto platforms that have less moderation, including Telegram, Gab and Trump's struggling platform, Truth Social. A growing list of criminal episodes has been linked to people who had expressed support for the conspiracy theory, which U.S. intelligence officials have warned could trigger more violence. QAnon supporters were among those who violently stormed the Capitol during the failed January 6, 2021, insurrection, which attempted to derail the results of the 2020 election.